Hi, I'm Wes Morton, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. It is time once again for another ResultsLeader.fm. Welcome to the show. And just in case you don't know, we are the only show on the internet dedicated to the men and women who are getting results for their clients. Today's result leader is Mr. Wes Morton, founder and CEO of Creativ Strategies, a full service marketing consultancy for media, entertainment, and tech brands. This guy's a wealth of information on advertising. So let's jump in. Wes, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
I'm ready.
As ready as he'll ever be. All right, let's give our listeners a quick win. What book have you given most as a gift?
I think there's a couple. So in terms of advertising and marketing, I think there's like three main books that are like required reading for any marketer. One would be Ogilvy on Advertising by David Ogilvy. It's just like a crash course in what the advertising is about and what effective advertising is. The second I would do is more like a psychology book, actually, that really opened my eyes to like how people make decisions. And it's called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And in that book, he really talks about that there's like two pathways in your brain. One is the like short snap decision making, like, oh, I'm going to put this jar of pickles in my shopping basket versus that jar of pickles. And the other one is like the more thought out, like deliberate thinking, where it's like, I really have to think through this decision. And finally, the last one is Reality in Advertising by Russell Reeves. He literally wrote the book on advertising and these terms that we still use today, like market penetration, advertising recall, brand lift. They're literally in his book and he's just inventing these. He's like one of the original madmen writing in like the 1940s and 50s. So if you want context on where a lot of these marketing theories and thoughts really came from, he's a great read. In terms of personal books, there's so many good ones, but I'm a big Herman Hesse fan. I like Kurt Vonnegut, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you're like looking for like a business self-help book, The Alchemist, The Prophet. I'm a voracious reader, so I can talk about books for days.
All right, it's time for a story. Tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
That's an easy one, Jonathan. So I actually got laid off during the pandemic. So I was working for a company for about 4 years. I was one of the senior managers in the marketing department. They laid off the entire marketing team during the pandemic, but it was a total blessing in disguise because that's how I started the company. I got, a couple months severance, started freelancing. One freelancing client turned into two, turned into three, and then here we are with the business. So that's an easy story about how something bad can actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise.
A lot of people will lose their job and go looking for a new one. Why didn't you?
So that was actually the original plan. The original plan was I was going to do some freelancing until I found a full-time role. I think it's pretty common these days, especially in media and marketing, entertainment, that people kind of like freelance into a permanent role. So they might do a little bit of marketing work for someone and whatever marketing specialty they're in, and then end up getting a full-time job. It just happened to be that I got just too many clients. And there was actually this pivotal moment in the summer of 2021. We were on the cusp of this big new client, but I didn't know if I was going to get it or not. And our previous client actually gave me an offer for a full-time role. So it was a very clear fork in the road, literally and figuratively. And, I called a bunch of people and asked their opinion. And ultimately, my dad just said, bet on yourself. So I ended up starting the business. I declined the offer, which was scary. But they ended up just, okay, that's fine. We'll keep contracting you. So I didn't even lose that client. So it was kind of this head game you play with yourself. I think that you're like, oh, am I letting go of a branch before I catch a new one? But it's a false perspective, actually. If you got a bit of savings and you have the luxury of trying something new, why not do it?
Is your dad an entrepreneur? I like that bet on yourself line.
Yeah, he's a bet on yourself. He is. 3-time entrepreneur, actually. He ran a PR and advertising business for oil and gas companies in Houston, Texas, started a and now runs like a speaker series in Houston where he just wants to talk to smart people and sell books. So yeah, that's some good advice from Papa Morton.
Well, I think that we're going to need an intro to Papa Morton to have him on the show. It sounds like my kind of people there. That's a first. Let's talk about investments. What would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
It was in yourself. I just like always pursued interest. I have had tons of crazy ass jobs. I mean, I was a club promoter in Spain. I worked on an archaeological dig in Kenya. I was an English teacher for a long time. And while I was an English teacher, I moved down to Argentina because I just went on an adventure. You know, you can kind of find work and travel at the same time. It's a win. So you're not just spending all your savings. So I moved down to Argentina and was an English teacher and learned a lot from just kind of being a freelance entrepreneur down there, I guess, just being an English teacher. But I also learned how to speak Spanish. So I think if you want a good investment, it's always a good investment to invest in yourself. Get an education, learn a new skill. All these universities, people don't understand. Like, you can actually take whatever course you want in university. You don't even have to get a full degree at UCLA or Harvard or whatever. You can just audit a class. Like, you literally go to Harvard and be like, hey, I just want to take Intro to Economics or something. And you can just sign up and pay a fee. It's going to be like $1,200 and you can just take a class for a semester. So I would always just invest in yourself. It's just going to make your life better. You're going to be more valuable. You're going to feel more valuable. You know, whether it's education or learning a new skill or just simply like going out for a run, getting exercise, feeling better. It's just always worthwhile. So invest in yourself.
I shouldn't do this, but I have to. I'm going to get off the script for just a second. I know everybody's wondering, how did you get a job on an archaeological dig?
Yeah, that was random. So it was actually the opposite. I just wanted to travel when I was younger. So I think I was 20 and I was kind of confused. I was in college. I didn't really understand why I was in college. And my dad knew this paleoanthropologist named Richard Leakey. And he was one of the guys that he discovered the oldest human remains in the planet. He was working this dig. He was opening this field school where you could literally go and just like help them dig up old million-year-old bones in northwest Kenya. So I just went. It was pretty wild. And I lived in a Kenyan desert for 5 months. Took malaria pills, man. Like, saw some crazy shit. We like lived out of this big army van when we were on dig sites and just like slept in tents. But it was pretty wild. It was pretty awesome. I ate goat for like 5 months straight though. And I will never order goat again. It ruined goat for me. I can't, because that's all they have is these skinny ass goats in Kenya. And that's all you eat for 5 months. You never want to look at goat again.
That's why I had to go there, because never in the history of the show will we ever hear it again. Skinny ass goats.
Yeah. They're really gamey and not good. They put them in like stews. They try and spice them up. They're just terrible. So, you know, I can really appreciate like a good steak or chicken or even like a vegetable. You know, we got like asparagus one day and everyone was like, let's go. You know, trips like that put into perspective like how great my life is, that if I'm like hungry at like 11 a.m., I can just like order pizza on my phone, you know?
Yeah. In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Honestly, I think surfing. I got into surfing about 3 years ago. It was the hobby I picked up during the pandemic, and it just gave me a whole new perspective on life. But, you know, I think as professionals, we're sitting in chairs for like 8, 10, 12 hours a day and just super stationary, always looking at screens. Surfing's like the exact opposite. You're just floating out there in the ocean with nothing, and you're really connected to nature. And I've enjoyed so many just beautiful sunsets and sunrises. It's just been awesome. And it's a great workout. I think I lost like 25 pounds during the pandemic.
Wow.
And I've kept it off. And it's just this new habit that I surf like 3 or 4 times a week. Not recently because there's been no waves and it's been cold. But usually when I'm good, that's an amazing habit. But it comes back to what's the investment? Just invest in yourself, invest in good habits. You know, you can get into bad habits really easily. You know, you can smoke weed and like eat cake every night if you want. You know, that's a habit that people get into. But you don't have to, right? You could be like, hey, the way I started the habit was so easy. I didn't start it. I think making small goals is a really easy way of doing it. Because I didn't start be like, oh, I'm going to be like a world-class server tomorrow. No. When I was in Dominican Republic, and living there over the pandemic, I just said, I'm just going to get in the water every day. That's all I'm going to do with a board. And that was the only thing. So that wasn't easy. That's easy to do, right? Or it's I'm just going to go for a walk every day on the beach, or I'm going to walk for a mile. Start with that. And then sooner or later, you'll be running the mile, and then you'll be running a mile and a half and 2 miles. So just make it be easy on yourself, but direct yourself in good ways and good habits.
What would you say are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
Yeah, I work in advertising because there's a lot of bullshit. Mostly it's not nefarious or like bad in any way, but they're platitudes that don't mean anything. And what I mean by that is like people just like this thought leadership industry in advertising where everyone just wants to be the smartest guy in the room, so people get on stage and write articles and stuff like that. And actually part of my business is being thought leaders for other people. Like we do a lot of PR work. So I'm like coming up with ideas and actually writing the papers or research papers and putting someone else's name on. The ghostwriting is alive and well in America because I think there's this need to have credibility and get your name out there but the type of thought leadership and the way people talk about it is not actually very helpful. It's not very actionable. There's some terms in advertising, like there's a term called brand love. Like people love this brand. We're trying to foster brand love or authenticity or storytelling. All of these words mean nothing in advertising anymore. They've been used so much that they just mean like good, like, oh, this ad feels really authentic. It just means it's good. It doesn't actually mean what you think it means. So I think that there's so many people giving advice out in the world today that actually have no expertise or credibility, but they're doing it just because it's good for them, right? It's good attention, right? They're marketing themselves. I would just tell people to come at thought leaders with a skeptical eye. Don't take everyone's word for granted. And I'm also aware of the irony of us being on a podcast and talking about being a results leader.
We planted the flag. Thought leadership is easy. Results leadership is hard. That was the flag that was planted during the pandemic.
There you go. Yeah. Anyone could be an expert. It's hard to be a competent expert, I suppose.
Yeah. That's what this is all about, man. We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. #ResultsLeaderFM. Now let's jump back into the interview. So why do results matter?
Yeah, I guess that's a good segue because how would you measure success if you aren't measuring results, right? I think the key to a great service business, which advertising is a service business. I love people who started as waiters or bartenders for advertising because they get customer service really, really well, right? And they get people. So the best way to find success is all you have to do is tell people what you're going to do for them, what you're going to provide for them, and then do it. And it's amazing how little people can do both of those things. I mean, you've seen so many people like Sam Bankman-Fried, right? Or who's the woman from Theranos?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot her name,
that
but
one.
yeah.
You see all these big entrepreneurs, they're selling the dream, right? And they can't deliver, right? And I honestly, as an entrepreneur myself, I can understand the fake it till you make it mentality because we did a little bit of that too. You kind of promise something, it's a bit of a reach, but you're hoping you can run and catch up to that sell, right? But a lot of times people sell the dream and then they can't actually deliver. Or they're selling something that they don't have actual domain expertise in. Or they have the other part where they can deliver, they're really great at something, but they're just terrible salespeople. They can't relate to people. That's why you see so many successful startups and entrepreneurships that they have a really technical person and they have a really good salesperson. Apple was like that. With Steve Wozniak, he actually did all the technology building. It wasn't Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is a good sales guy. So he's the front man. He's not some technical genius. He's an amazing storyteller and salesman. And Steve Wozniak is a technical genius, but a terrible salesman. So that is a recipe for success, right? It's hard to get both. Sometimes you don't have both. Sometimes you need a partner.
What area of your business would you like better results?
Better results. Yeah, I think you can always push yourself to do better. I mean, I don't want to get too technical in the weeds. Like, you're building a PR business. A lot of building a PR business is about both client service and understanding how a client wants to position themselves in the market, but also having a network of reporters and editors. They trust you. You can give them things they need so you can get the word out, but you got to develop that network. So there's always, like, I think our strong suit is like, we're amazing at positioning. But if I'm being quite honest, we're still building that network. We're going to get there, but we're still building it up, and we've started to get traction and more traction for our client. And luckily we've had great clients who know we're going to build stuff for them. Right. And they've given us the resources to go build it for them. Right. But that's a level of trust you have to build. So I think for any entrepreneur, just like not biting off more than you can chew, going back to that sell the dream, but deliver, right, has been really important for me. I've been really cautious that I don't sell anything that I know we can't deliver on, or I think we can deliver on. Sometimes I sell stuff, I'm like, I hope we can do that. I'm pretty sure we can do that. Or I can find someone that is really good at doing that, and then we can kind of manage that person and then build that solution. But yeah, just always pushing yourself, but not biting off more than you can chew. I think that's entrepreneur advice that people don't get. Like, just reach a little bit, just incrementally. And that's like a much safer path to growth. But also don't lack that ambition. Like, there's tons of mediocre ass businesses out there that just plod along and they have no vision and no ambition. So you need that. It's a balance. You need both.
What results are you most proud of?
I think there's two kinds of results. There's one everyone else sees. It's the stamp of approval, right? It's like you getting Forbes under 30, you getting awards, accolades. I think from that perspective, we incorporated in July of 2021. So about a year and a half ago. In our first year of business, we made $500,000 in revenue. So I did not think, blew my mind. You can kind of like put that in a press release and that looks very good and everyone on LinkedIn goes like, hell yeah. But what I'm most proud of is actually like, and I think the better measure of success that's more intangible is like all the other stuff, right? It's like the quality of your relationships, like the clients you work with, like the team you build, how much fun you're having. I could work I'm sure I could get a job at Credit Suisse or like some big bank, right? And do spreadsheets all day, but I'd be miserable. Maybe I'd make more money in the short term, but is a monetary success metric all we care about in business? I don't think so, personally. And that's one of the reasons we started this Creativ Strategies, and why I decided to bet on myself is because I just wanted to work with the clients I wanted to work with. Like, I had worked in lots of different advertising firms. I've sold Oreo cookies and plane flights, and my partner sold Band-Aids and Listerine. Yeah, I don't think it's not as fun. And shouldn't you work on something that's fun for you and you can get out of bed in the morning and actually want to do it, right? So I think that's something that people should be more proud of, that they're just, even if you I knew a guy who lived out of a van and just taught surf lessons. I was like, dude, this guy's life is great. He doesn't make that much money, but he just kicks it and chills and like hangs out with whoever he wants to hang out with. It was like, that's success,
Any parting thoughts you want to share with the results leaders who are listening to us right now?
Yeah, I guess maybe we can recap some of the thoughts, I suppose. I would just say, base your success on saying you're going to provide something and actually delivering. Having those two aspects is like the whole of being successful in business. It's super simple. Don't make it more complicated than it is. Always push yourself to be better, invest in yourself. And then, don't get fixated on buying a cool car or some number that you're trying to reach. I think goals are important, but also identify that it's actually just like getting up, having fun, liking your team, liking your clients, being interested in the product you work on. And if you build something valuable, the money's going to come later, but don't fixate on that. The only thing that matters, right? Because it doesn't. And I think that's the biggest perspective for starting this own business and being around for 31 years on this planet, is just like perspective on what's important. I remember working on one big advertising firm, and the client was a nightmare and very indecisive and always changing her mind about everything. And we're scrambling from one side of the room to the other. It was just the worst campaign. I remember a colleague of mine just like was crying And I was just like, you know what? We're selling candy. Who the frick cares? Honestly, this will be fine. Even if we lose this client, who wants to work with this client? You know, just like pull out a little bit if you're having a bad day, take perspective. Even if my whole firm went up in flames, I could always get a new job somewhere else. And I'm investing in myself. I'm learning something new every day. And ultimately, that experience is going to be valuable wherever I go. So that's the big takeaway I would tell your results leaders is make the goals, deliver what you promised, but have fun while you're doing it.
Where can our listeners get more from you?
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn, Wes Morton, Creativ Strategies. You can find us on basically every platform. It's creative with no E at the end. Strategies, plural.com is our website. LinkedIn, Instagram, and I write up a monthly newsletter as well on LinkedIn. So people can read that. And I might be a writer for a big marketing trade magazine soon, but I can't share it yet.
Excellent. We will be sure to include links in the show notes. Thank you, Wes, for hanging out with us. Thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. Another episode is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.